I think right now the consumers, we're really kind of at this tipping point, and call it, the Great Reinvention. But essentially, we've got the Great Migration, Great Resignation, Great Retirement, right? Really, at the end of the day, what's happening, consumers are reinventing themselves, and they're really kind of, taking stock, looking at what they value and how they want to live, how they want to work, what's resonating with them. We saw this, during the Great Recession, right after when we were tracking consumer trends and really seeing consumers shift in their values. What's different this time, with the Great Recession, it was about rethinking, the values and priorities within the context of, really scarcity and limited budgets. This time around, it's a little bit different because consumers are kind of rethinking and innovating, their lives due to technology, due to what technology is enabling from work from anywhere, due to really more flexibility. So I think it's going to be really an interesting time for our industry, for home and community to really kind of watch what's going on in terms of how consumers are really going to be driving a lot of the innovation within the home and also within the community. I will also say, Deanna touched on, the importance of well-being, sustainability. I think, that definitely is on a go forward, will be huge for, the consumers in the next 3 to 5 years, and I think even beyond. Because I think, essentially what's happened, the shift that we've been seeing is, the shift from who are really the cultural drivers within what's happening. So for a long time, boomers were in control, were influencing, a lot of the cultural influence and what's going on and what was important. But now you've got the shift to really focused on millennials and Gen Z and kind of their core values and how that's changing, society, the dialogue around climate change, around DEI, around social justice, around identity. So a lot of this is, I think setting the stage for how we look at and design home and community on a go forward.
So let me just ask you about that and then also kind of tout your abilities here a little bit. So there's a lot of thought leaders that say these things are happening, but you have more than 20 actively selling master plan communities, many of which you've been in for 5 to 10 years. So you've actually seen your consumer shift in the exact same locations, and you've pivoted some of what you're doing. Can you back up some of what you just said with some specific examples and maybe data?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of great examples. One of them is when we saw the shift from, and just take household formation, for example. We saw the shift maybe about 12, 13 years ago in our data from traditional nuclear families becoming kind of the predominant home shoppers, home buyers, to really more singles, more couples, pre-family couples, move down, move over couples, multi-gen. So really that shift to smaller households, and I think of more varied blended households. So I think that, again, has also implications for how you segment a community, the product offering, your strategy. And then also just in looking at, we'll talk a lot today about build for rent. Build for rent, I think, is really the direct response to the millennials, right? And how they were going through life stages. So we knew that millennials were delaying marriages, delaying child birth, they're cohabitating, they're delaying home purchase. And we knew also millennials wanted to be in the suburbs, particularly those leading edge millennials. And so build for rent really within a master plan setting for us really allows them to, live within the master plan community setting with it, either renting or home ownership. But again, it gives that flexibility for how, that life group, that life stage, that generation is evolving.